Dobrý den, dámy a pánové, vítám vás v Genshinu Impactu, část 17, nebo část 2. Minule jsme skončili tady, Shenhe a stavený Shenhe. No, a my se jdeme do tylu se trochu vyspat. Tak tam rovnou. Tak, co jsme jako měli? Já teď točím druhou část Zelen Zero. Tam se mi něco pokazilo a já se velice omlouvám. Snad jsem to tam vysvětlil pořádně, pokud ne, tak se velice omlouvám.
Hi there! Checking in, are we? You're just in time. We only have 2 rooms left. Since this was chosen as the building site for the new Jade chamber, we've had a constant stream of people in this area. And not just workers either. Visitors, business people, tea sellers, all sorts. So, business is booming for me today. Very few vacancies. You're lucky you got here when you did.
Great!
One of your rooms is still being cleaned. I guess it should be ready within the hour. The other room is just through the door on the left. Here are your keys. All right. Hope you enjoy your stay. Please excuse me, I'll leave you to it.
Shenhe, you should go get some rest. We'll hang around outside until the other room's ready. Paimon's gonna go see if there's anything good to eat around here. Paimon couldn't help but notice one of the guests walk in with a huge grilled chicken drumstick before. Let's buy one for Shenhe, too. She can have it as a midnight snack. Or save it for breakfast tomorrow.
All right. I will head to my room for now. If you need anything, don't hesitate to disturb me. I'm a light sleeper. I will hear if you knock on the door. See you tomorrow.
Hey, isn't that Cloud Retainer? What's she doing here? Let's go and say hi.
Mohli bychom se pozvali. OK. Aha. To vezeme nahoru, to si nemohla přesat třeba trochu dole. Ježíši Kriste.
One trusts you have met Shenhe. So, are you getting along quite well?
So far, so good. Yeah. So, you know Shenhe too, Cloud Retainer?
Naturally. Save for Ganyu, who spends the majority of her time in Liyue Harbor. All the Adepti living today are acquainted with Shenhe to some degree.
Cool. So, what's her Adeptus name anyway? Calling her Shenhe feels kind of friendly, but also kind of disrespectful. So Paimon's thinking maybe it'd be better if we called her by her Adeptus name instead.
Her Adeptus name? Why, pray tell, would Shenhe have an Adeptus name?
Don't all Adepti have a special title they go by?
On this latter point, you are correct. However, Shenhe is human.
Oh, right. Wait, what? What? You knew already? So is Paimon the only one who didn't know?
Do you mean to say that she presents differently from ordinary human beings?
Well, to start with, her problem-solving methods are extremely direct.
Ah, yes. She was like this all those years ago when one first met her. In this respect, she has not changed. One first found Shenhe by chance in a cave. One was passing by and sensed the presence of a god's remains. Being of an ever-vigilant disposition, one entered immediately to inspect the scene. Inside was Shenhe, then aged around 6 years old. In her hand, she held a dagger with which she was confronting a monster that was the god's remains incarnate.
That sounds so dangerous.
When one arrived, she had already been locked in confrontation with this monster for several days. Most mortal children are fragile, both physically and mentally, and are highly reliant on their parents for survival, but not so her. That she was able to endure such terrible danger was due not only to her strong willpower, but also to the bloodlust and homicidal instinct with which she was born. One dealt with the monster, yet she still refused to lower her guard. She even pointed her dagger in one's direction and remained ready to strike. Only after she was satisfied that one had no intention to cause her harm did she finally relent. She then passed out without uttering a single word.
In other words, if you hadn't passed by that day, Shenhe might have...
Not necessarily. Upon one's arrival, one could sense that the god's wrath was gradually receding. Even had the stalemate continued, one suspects that Shenhe may have still emerged the victor of the confrontation.
That's still so dangerous, though. Why was a tiny little kid battling against the wrath of a god in the first place?
Alas, the mortal world is rife with suffering of every kind, and she had experienced her fair share of this, even at a tender age. Seeing that she was homeless, one decided to adopt her. Indeed, it is one to whom she refers. Shenhe has an extraordinary constitution, making her well adapted to practicing the Adepti arts. All the Adepti cherished her talents, and so we were willing to train her. However, her homicidal urges did not subside with age. Rather, they grew stronger day by day. Mooncarver once performed a divination for her. He declared that her fate is to bear the curse of calamity. Consumed by malevolent energy, she is prone to bring harm to those around her. Such is the magnitude of the danger this poses, that her soul must be bound with red ropes to keep her homicidal instinct at bay. The red ropes have indeed served to keep her calmer and more content. They also seem to have rendered her somewhat inexpressive. Perhaps the red ropes are so powerful that they have suppressed some of her other emotions as well. It is only by fate that people's paths may cross. Now that Shenhe's path has crossed with yours, please be sure to treasure the gift that fate has given you, and take good care of her.
Oh, now Paimon gets it. You came out here to check up on Shenhe because you were worried about her, didn't you?
Huh. You dare draw such a facile conclusion on the nature of one's present excursion? Incorrect. The truth is that while Liyue Harbor may seem peaceful today, danger is always lurking in the shadows. Ningguang once made a bold assertion that this is to be the era of the contract between Liyue and the humans. Well, one is most curious to observe how she will respond to the coming storm. If she handles it admirably, one is willing to be a witness to her achievements. But if she does not, the Adepti shall not hesitate to seize control. Let us conclude our conversation here for today. One has occupied enough of your time, and night is approaching. Be sure to get ample rest.
Měl bychom si odpočinout.
So, Shenhe isn't an Adeptus after all.
8 ráno. Pokud se trefí, přesně. Může být. Takže ona je homelessařka. Pak ji někdo adoptoval a stará se o ní. Je. Co máme? SMS, penízky, prosím, ty jsou hodný disky. Tak.
Hey, so, Shenhe,
Master has relayed my situation to you, I take it.
oh? How did you know?
I'd intended to wait until you came back before going to sleep, but I didn't hear you come in. I was worried that something may have happened to you, so I went outside to check and caught sight of my master. On top of this, you have been acting very strangely around me this morning, causing me to suspect that my master must have told you everything about me. After all, Master is very talkative.
Sorry, Shenhe. Paimon had you down as an adeptus this whole time, but it turns out Paimon was wrong.
It's okay. I don't mind. The fault is mine for not explaining everything to you sooner, because in my experience, trying to explain is a futile pursuit. Still, though you mistook me for an adeptus, you never treated me as distant and unapproachable. Instead, you treated me as you would a friend. For this, I am very grateful indeed.
To be fair, we've met our fair share of real adepti, too. Anyway, now it's settled. From now on, you're our friend. Whether you're an adeptus or a human isn't the important thing. First and foremost, we're just plain old friends.
Got it. Although I don't know quite what it entails in terms of what I have to do, I must say I like the title, Friend, very much indeed.
Great! Well, now that we're all rested up, we should start searching for the other 2 items on the list. But before we do that, let's go to the building site and ask Ningguang's little helper how the progress is going. After all, Sunset Vermilionite is so rare. Paimon doubts many competitors will really be able to find any. If it turns out some of them have given up already, we'll be able to take things a little more slowly. Oh, and another thing. We bought some grilled chicken drumsticks on the way back last night. There was a place just outside.
To bychom měli všechno. Jo. A proč mi to vypadlo, když to máme? Ne. Já chci země. To mi neříkaj. A ono to je tady. Doufám. Já se z toho Ach jo. Jdeme za tím důvodem. Protože jinak to nepůjde. Já jsem myslel, že jo, no, takže musím dokončit tohleto vyhlášáky. Já se z toho
Here's one for you, Shenhe. Try it! They're so good.
I concur. It has a rich flavor, far more agreeable than those I've cooked for myself in the wilderness in the past.
Nebo si to pletu? Co to je to, vyhlášáku? Ne. Taky ne. Jo, tady to je. Dámy a pánové, já jsem idiot. To mi neříkej, já musím dokončit jeden vyhlejšák. Aby si mi odemkl tohle? Počkej, ono to je tady. Nebo ne? Nebo jo? Ta jsem kreten, nebo... Na to si teď podíváme. A to je blbost, že by mi to vypadlo. Zase bych musel udělat vyvěšaky, aby mi to odemklo. To mi neříkej. To je to tady nebo ne?
Boring.
A to je velká... No. Je to ono. Ty... Ne, dneska nemám dobrou náladu.
It's shocking how much work there is to do, even for the three of us. And she's been handling it alone all along. The Qixing secretary clearly isn't an ordinary person. It's so frustrating. Huh? You're...
Aren't you Ningguang's servants? How come you're here?
We are Miss Ningguang's private secretaries, not servants.
Have you seen Miss Ganyu, Traveler? It has been several days since Ganyu left for Joyun Karst. She's the general secretary of the Liyue Qixing. We've only taken over her responsibilities until she gets back.
Even though the Qixing have made peace with the Adepti after the latter had denounced Liyue, they still want to pay their respects to the Illuminated Ones. They commissioned Ganyu as their envoy to deliver a letter to Joyun Karst and bring the Adepti the latest news about the crisis. Still, Ganyu should have been back to her usual responsibilities by now, but she's disappeared without a trace.
Is that so? Maybe Ganyu just took a little detour. Who can blame her after working so hard?
I'm afraid it's not very likely. Ever since we met Ms. Ganyu, she's been nothing but the most conscientious person in all of Liyue. Even when it's time for her annual leave, Ms. Ganyu stays on duty at Yuehai Pavilion saying there is still so much to do. She couldn't possibly be using her mission as an excuse to slack off.
Oh, Paimon sees how it is. But she's half Adeptus. She wouldn't get in trouble, right? Why do you look so upset?
It's because of this absurd workload of hers. When we first heard the three of us would be taking over for Miss Ganyu, we thought it would simply be a matter of changing our work environment.
We couldn't have imagined that Miss Ganyu's daily workload far exceeds what the three of us are used to doing.
We don't even know how long we've been working. We feel guilty for taking even a short breather like we are now.
Looks like you got a serious emergency on your hands.
Speaking of Joyun Karst, Traveler, I've heard that you can go in and out of there as you please.
Of course, we've been there lots of times.
That's good news. Could you go to Joyun Karst and find Miss Ganyu for us? Preferably before we collapse under this workload. We're saved. I remember Miss Ganyu said that she'd be visiting Cloud Retainer's abode. You might as well start looking for her there.
It's about time she came back to work. Otherwise...
No, perhaps we should go to Lady Ningguang first and bring up our overtime pay again.
Já se z toho
So Ganyu left to visit Cloud Retainer.
Jsem myslel, že to je ono, to že ne. To je ono. Ta jsem kreten. To jsou samý vy. To je to nejde tady. Já se na to musím podívat. Já jsem na to fakt. To. To se, dámy a pánové, my nebudeme pokračovat druhý časy vůbec. Protože já musím do galášky nějaký věnešáky a tak koukám. Proklínám. Ach jo. Takže abys... No se nám to řeklo. Já si ten Genshin za mě prdel? Bože, za co? Za co mě dneska trestáš?
Reduced to just standing around. How absurd.
Já si dneska fakt nekopnu. Dneska se mi podělalo video, musel jsem se omluvit. Já se z toho zacelím jednoho dne. A ne, že bych si plánoval sebevraždu, tak to není. Já to myslím souběsně, ale se pofaskuju. Takže YouTube je dál. Že takhle jsem to nemyslel, jo? Jestli mě tohle nepustí dál, tak já se
Worthless!
fakt naštvu.
Look! The Jade Chamber is floating into the sky! But it seems to be tied down by something.
That's because it's not finished.
Hey, Byron! And hey! People Paimon doesn't know?
Given the enormous scale of the Jade Chamber, we split the construction work into 2 phases to make sure the structure remains balanced. Before we find some suitable plastrite, we build the Jade Chamber's keel at ground level. Once the plastrite is ready, we place it into the keel and let the partially constructed Jade Chamber rise up to the height of the surrounding mountain peaks. The remainder of the construction work is then carried out at that altitude. Once everything is ready, we release the iron tethers and allow the Jade Chamber to rise to its target altitude.
Miss Bywin, we've brought some new materials to submit.
One moment, I'll be right there. The construction work has only been able to progress this rapidly thanks to the plastrite provided by you. Lady Ningguang is most grateful and looks forward to seeing more of your work.
Wow, can't believe you sourced the plastrite so quickly. It's the key piece of the puzzle. Looks like you beat us to the punch. Wait, I know you. You're the one who fought against the Vatuian Osile, right? Oh, sure enough, your reputation precedes you. Pleased to meet you. I'm Beto, captain of the Crux.
Beto? Are you here to join the Jade Chamber contest too?
Sure am. I happened to get my hands on a chunk of sunset vermilionite on a voyage a while back, so I figured I'd bring it over.
Huh. So even though it's rare, we're not the only ones who managed to get a hold of it.
Oh, I've got some introductions to do. This is the renowned Miss Yun, or Yunjin, probably the most famous figure in the Liyue opera scene.
Greetings.
These two are Paimon and the Traveler. I'm sure you've heard of them before. And this is... sorry, I'm not sure we've met.
Shenhe. I am their friend.
Good to meet you. Well, from today on, I guess all of us are friends. Miss Yun is also here for the contest. Turns out she needed to borrow a boat, so we came together.
It's an honor to finally meet you both. I've heard much about you. Miss Shenhe, though we are only meeting for the first time, I have a feeling that we will get along very well indeed. To be honest with you all, I am in great need of this opportunity to ask Lady Ningguang a question. That's why I joined the contest. Thanks to my father's connections, I was able to acquire a specimen of the plastrite required. Fortunately, it was approved for submission, despite being a little on the diminutive side. Wow! So it looks like the 3 of us are competitors now. Excuse me for prying, Miss Shenhe, but are you competing as well?
No, I don't have any questions for Ningguang. I just wanted to help her win.
In that case, I have a proposal to make. Lady Ningguang said that the first 3 contestants to procure all 3 materials will be awarded the chance to ask a question. Well, there are 3 teams here. We can split the prize between us. Instead of competing against each other, we could work together to secure the top 3 places between us. What do you think? Sounds great, but how does it change things exactly?
I think I see where you're going with this, Miss Yoon. The plastrite was the most difficult item to source by a long shot. Luckily, all 3 of us managed to get our hands on it. The 2 remaining items aren't quite so rare, so as long as one of us finds a way to source it, the other 2 can hop on the bandwagon. How'd I do? Is that what you had in mind?
Precisely.
Huh. Interesting approach. Okay then. All right. I'll go first. I have some leads on these wonder cores. From what I've heard, the core itself is really not that difficult to make. The hard part is getting hold of the ore used as raw materials. I'm gonna head back to the ship and ask Suling if he's heard of them. You guys...
We will head into town and seek advice from Master Zhang of Hanfeng's Ironmongers. Thoughts?
Wonderful. We'll split into teams then, and whoever makes progress first brings all of us a step closer to victory. I'm gonna take off. See you later.
Okay, let's go! By the way, what question are you gonna ask Ningguang Yunjin? I'm looking for a venue to host the performance of our new opera. Lady Ningguang has excellent judgment, so I would like to hear her opinion. Ooh, what's the opera called? Paimon wants to go see it. The opera is a labor of love by my father. He wrote it based on a popular urban legend about an evil spirit and an adeptus. It's called The Divine Damsel of Devastation.
Díky bohu, že pokračuje, protože já bych se písnu, kdyby ne. Ale Minecraftu. Takže se pokesáme a budeme končit. Musím ještě natočit volný video o tom, já jsem mi to pokazilo, ale to jsem natočil, ale ještě to musím opravit. A já si stanu ještě video na ty cutscény, které tam jsou a dávám to tam. Nebo 3. části epizody bych to tam dal, no. Já jsem si to jedno.
Hello. Are you here for something off the shelf, or do you need something forged?
Excuse me, Master Zhang. We were wondering if you'd heard of something called a Wonder Core.
Of course I have. Sorry, who's asking?
My name is Yunjin. Perhaps you don't know me, but I believe that you forged some weaponry for my father in the past, for stage use.
Yunjin? Stage use? Oh, so you must be Miss Yoon. Sorry, my brain's finally caught up. It's not used to doing much beyond bashing a hammer all day. Everyone's heard of you, Miss Yoon, even folks who don't make it to the opera all that often. Like myself. So, you're here to ask about wonder cores, huh? As it happens, I do know how to make them. Matter of fact, I made some for Lady Ningguang back when she was building the original Jade Chamber. The types of ore needed to make wonder cores are a little hard to come by. Lady Ningguang supplied them herself last time. I don't suppose you've brought any yourselves?
No, we were gonna ask you what kinds of ore we need.
Sure. Well, you'll need 2 kinds. Star Splinter Iron and Subrosium. If I remember correctly, Lady Ningguang sourced her Star Splinter Iron from the Mount Tianheng area. They say it resonates with visions. It could take some work, but if you stick with it, you'll find some eventually. As for the Subrosium, though, odds trickier. It's all but unheard of on the market. I'm really not sure. Sorry. What I've heard is that the people around Mount Tianheng have some sort of magic trick that can pinpoint the location of the stuff. Of course, it's probably just hearsay. If you want my advice, start by looking for Star Splinter iron around Mount Tianheng. And if you run into any locals, ask them a few questions about Subrosium.
Mount Tianheng.
Interestingly enough, the story of the divine damsel of devastation also takes place on that mountain. I hear the view there is quite spectacular. A favorite destination of the Adepti, in fact. Perhaps it can give me some inspiration. Let's not delay. We should head straight there.
Kam se máme vydat? No to musíme tam.
Ad
No, to se
Astra
vydáme.
Abyssosk. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild. Thank
To se
you for
vydáme
completing
příště.
today's commission.
Dámy, pánové. Na to si vydáme příště. A proč? Protože na to nemám čas. No, zanete like, zanete odběr, nějaký komentář by ocenil a já se pro dnešek loučím a jdeme.